Welcome back to CP Whiskey Creek in nscale. I'm Chris, and this video is about the one that got away. For those unfamiliar with this little bit of Canadian aviation history, the Avro Canada CF-105 Arrow was a delta wing interceptor aircraft made in Canada. It had the potential to hit Mach 2 speeds and reach altitudes above 50,000 feet. It was destined to be the RCAF's primary interceptor in the 1960s and beyond. It was unveiled in October of 1957, which ended up being the same day as the launch of Sputnik. But by February 20th, 1959, the government canceled the project in what later became known as Black Friday. No, not that one. Canada then ended up buying Beaumark missiles and American Voodoos to fill that void. 6 prototypes had been built, but when it was cancelled, everything was ordered destroyed: the tooling, the plans, engines, and the aircraft. Many of the engineers left Canada in what many Canadians view as a brain drain to the US and found work for places like NASA. Even to this day, there has been considerable controversy surrounding the cancellation of the project. And when you have controversy, comes folklore. One of those was that one of the prototypes was flown away in the middle of the night and hidden away from the welder's torch. In 1997, a CBC miniseries reignited this legend. During the series, even the Canadian Aviation and Space Museum in Ottawa, then it was called the National Aviation Museum, ran a series of ads.
They say that maybe one got away. There's a farmer in Western Canada who knows the legend well. You see, he has a little secret he keeps hidden away in an old barn. Now, if only tell us where that barn is.
See the only known remains of the Avro Arrow in Pushing the Envelope, a new exhibition at the National Aviation Museum in Ottawa.
So what does this have to do with model railroading? Absolutely nothing. But I've always been fascinated by the Arrow and Canadian military aviation, so I wanted to come up with a plan to be able to incorporate the Arrow into my layout. So I decided to make the barn hiding the one that got away. Now the Arrow itself was massive at 77 feet long, so even in nscale, that would work out to be about 6 inches long. So I decided to select my barn first, and I went with the Osborne barn. And then with the Arrow, I ended up going with 3D printing. Now, I took the measurements for the interior of the barn and scaled down an STL file that I found online for the Arrow so then it would actually fit inside. My local library does free 3D printing for some items, so I ended up having the Arrow printed there. Because of the scaling, I needed to fill some of the gaps, which I ended up using Bondo, a automotive filler. Next up, I started assembling the barn. I needed a floor for the barn, as part of the interior was to be visible, so I used an old garage sale sign as the styrene base, cut it up, test fit it, and then painted it gray. The bottom part received a gray concrete color, and then that allowed me to now test fit the Arrow. For the decals, I had a 172 scale model kit in my stash of the Arrow, so I ended up scanning those decals in, scaled them down, and printed them out so they matched the 3D print. For the roof, I wanted some of the trusses to be open and visible, and you'll see why soon. So I also got the Osborne roof trusses and cut them down to match the size of the roof barn. The rest that I had from that set I just added to my Beaver Lumber store inventory. I wanted the roof to have some open areas. The idea is that the old man from the commercial has passed away, the farm's become neglected, and nobody actually knows that the Arrow is hidden in there for now. But the barn is starting to fall apart, so I cut up the roof sections so that it seems like some of the metal sheets have fallen off. The roof was weathered using various washes to get a little bit more of a rusted, weathered look. For the base, I ended up painting it tan, and then I applied grout to represent the dirt. I then added various lengths and shades of static grass. The barn doors have become unhinged, but not enough that the barn's secret is fully in view. I then added some of the surrounding details, like parts of the roof that's fallen down, an old ladder, pallets, and a drum. I've worked on this project off and on for quite some time actually, but it ended up turning out exactly how I imagined it. For now, it sits in a display case awaiting its time to head out onto the layout. While it's unlikely one actually got away, it's still nice to dream. Thanks for watching.